This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about. Real, honest, entertaining, live. DBL starts right now.
3, 2.
Welcome. Good, strong opening to DBL. It's Monday, August 3rd. We're in August. That's weird.
We are in August.
I'm Tori with some free-flowing Farrah Fawcett hair. Again, we don't have hair and makop, so I'm just doing it how it comes out.
You look great.
You think?
Very Jennifer Aniston vibes.
What?
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. I'm here with Erica, and Lindsay joins us from home. Lindsay, looking gorgeous and plum. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I know Jennifer Aniston, Tori's about to walk off set because that's a great compliment.
It's so true. I'm like,
Look,
what?
she's trying not to blush.
I'm like, don't stop. Never stop.
You're like the melanated Rapunzel over there.
That's a good
Well, thank you. I'll take that.
I love that, too. All right, we're going to move into finding out about the U.S. and, of course, the coronavirus to give you an update. We are in a new phase, apparently, in the fight against the coronavirus. That is what Dr. Deborah Birx said yesterday in her scarves, as always, explaining that the virus is more widespread now than in March and April. That's not good news, with rural parts of the country seeing just as much spread as urban areas. Now, despite the continued surge, tons of people got together to party over the weekend. So take a look in New York City. Yep, there was a secret rave under one of the bridges on Saturday night. Hundreds gathered together for the annual White Trash Bash. I didn't know that was a thing. Packing together on boats on the Illinois River. And of course, check out the electronic music concert at the Lake of the Ozarks. We've seen a lot of crowds at the Ozarks during this coronavirus pandemic. The only real way to have parties like these again safely would be to have a vaccine. But we're getting closer and closer to having one ready by the end of the year. A lot of people are debating, though, who should get the vaccine first. Should it be hard-hit areas? Should it be frontline workers? Should it be those that were in the study and got a placebo? Erica, where do you stand on this?
Well, I don't know who should get it first. That's a little above my pay grade, like a lot above my pay grade. However, I do want people to remember that just because the messaging has possibly been diluted by other social impact situations that we have been, talking about, like Black Lives Matter and all of the protests, it's not as though it's changed. And what they're talking about a lot is multi-generational homes. And as you know, my dad is a funeral director and has been for the past 20 years. I'm always hearing death stories. The stories that I'm hearing now are young people posting on social media about all of these different parties that they're going to, and within days, if not like maybe a week, they are getting coronavirus, and their grandparents, great-grandparents are passing away from coronavirus that was brought into their homes. So just because the messaging doesn't sound as loud as it was in like March or April does not mean that the impact isn't there. And if you can't think of anything else, if you don't care about anybody else, imagine living the rest of your life knowing that you were the conduit to bring this virus into the home that took the life of someone that you loved.
That's such a good call. Lindsay, real quick, what do you think of this cycle? We get to social distance, we get to flatten the curve, and then we get bored and we go right back into it. It never seems to end.
I mean, I understand why people are spending time with their close friends and family if they're going to do it safely. But when you get to these big raves that we've been seeing in all these videos,
right?
It really doesn't make any sense to me. And when I look at the order, like Erica was saying, of the vaccine, a lot of times we follow CDC guidelines very specifically. So there's an organization within the CDC that hands out these guidelines to past presidents, and we follow them to the T. And so most of those people are healthcare workers, but a lot of times people who tested for the vaccine or other people that are in dangerous areas where it's climbing rapidly need to be looked at too, and this is something that we haven't experienced before, so we have to keep all those people in mind as well.
Yeah, bus drivers, sanitation workers, those people are frontline workers, the soldiers in this war, and we stand up for them. Well, moving to Black Lives Matter, as Erica brought up, the protesters there gathered and marched in Zinc, Arkansas yesterday. Now, if you don't know anything about Zinc, let me tell you, it's reported the hometown of the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan national director. So here's what one of the organizers of the march, Aaron Clark, had to say about it. Take a look.
we decided to come down here to Zinc, Arkansas. Thomas Robb is the national director at the KKK. He's a resident down here in Zinc. So we decided just to come down here and bring the fight to its front step. We're gonna put a national spotlight on this area, and we're gonna stop letting the Klan and white nationalist groups sit back and hide in the shadows.
Wow. Well, the march was met with armed counter-protesters and folks carrying signs reading, "Turn back." Still, the protests remain peaceful, which is wonderful. Lindsay, what do you think of protesting in areas where hate is rampant? This is a fundamental First Amendment rights issue in terms of America. What do you think about that?
I think it's scary. I mean, but even still, the KKK, in my opinion, is a terrorist organization. And so the things that they have done historically and still do to this day, most recently in June, where we saw a huge truck drive into a peaceful protest in Richmond, Virginia, that's a terrorist activity. And so when we're looking at these people that are going to go protest in these places and spaces that they're usually not allowed in, I congratulate everybody and, you know, support them going over there and saying that we're not going to make you guys out in the open. We're going to make you feel like you need to hide in the shadows, because this kind of behavior is not acceptable anywhere. And there was even a white filmmaker that went to another town close by in Arkansas and held up a Black Lives Matter sign and really showed how people near and around that area and so many other places around the world and country are still so racist, and got so offended by him holding up that sign, calling him the N-word. You know, they didn't know they were being filmed. And so this is also information that's out there on the internet. So I think that it's good that we're continuing to stay on top of people and making that type of behavior inappropriate.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think what's ironic, Erica, is this. The KKK in the 50s would go to black people's homes, right? Like Martin Luther King Jr., and stick a cross in their yard and burn it, right? So we have a picture of that. This is Martin Luther King Jr. picking up a cross, right, with his son there, of what they did. So the KKK would go to their yard. Now the Black Lives Matter is coming to their yard. Now they're being peaceful, which is great, but I think it's an interesting twist to see the change. And a lot of people writing in, Patrice Gardner said, brave men and women. What do you think?
Well, you know, one protester said that they were going to force them to see who they hate. And that just struck me so much, because there was this white flight and people really went to their own collective spaces and, you know, and places and decided that this is how we're going to live our lives in basically a separatist. So the idea that someone can hate something that they don't even know and don't interact with in any way is just really interesting. It's actually the definition of ignorance. So when I see these people going down peacefully saying, we are going to make you see us, we're going to make you look at us, I think it's so powerful, because that's what we're doing right now in this country and in this world. We're facing the evil that has been really covert racism, and we're saying if you want to do it, it's going to be over. Like, if that's what you want to do and that's what you want to be, then understand, because people who are committed to misunderstanding are going to continue to misunderstanding and hate. But there are going to be people whose minds and hearts can be changed, and I think we should all be open to that as well.
Well said. Interesting conversation. Let us know what you guys think. A lot of you are saying, wow, amazing, right on, true. Interesting. Very interesting. What's going on with TikTok? Was that what you were about to ask me? Don't worry, I got you. It's the popular short video app that's owned by a Chinese firm. And the president has reportedly put a hold on his plan to ban the platform, because Microsoft confirmed with this tweet that they are in talks to buy TikTok's U.S. operations. TikTok has just become huge. I see eyelashes fluttering. I want to know what Cobb's thinking. What do you think? Talk to me.
I understand that in terms of safety and security for data and information, this may be important. I question why it seems to be one of the most important things right now, and I think that the idea of interruption and the idea of community in terms of people being able to group together. Lindsay and I spoke with her father a couple months ago, and he was talking about the difference between how people bring each other together back in the 50s and 60s when they were coming together in order to fight for civil rights and how things happen now. And what he said was like, you know, thousands of people can be told to be in this area at this time in a matter of moments because of technology. And we have to think about that. All of these people are utilizing this technology in order to get their message across. And it's been very powerful and disruptive to this administration.
Yes.
So I question why it's such an imminent situation, but then I also feel like we know why.
We do know, and some of us do know why, and some of us believe so. If you just saw before, that was Sarah Cooper. She's a famous TikToker who just mouths and lip syncs President Trump's speeches, and it's gotten so popular that I wonder, and some people wonder, again, speculation only, if this has somewhat hurt his ego, which a lot of people think is quite sensitive. What do you think about that, Lindsay?
I mean, I surely don't want the Chinese government having all of our information, but I also don't know that I want. I also don't know that I want Microsoft to have all of our information. Like, it goes from one to the other, and so these big entities always have all of our information. They barely ever protect us. You see tons of celebrities and other people get hacked or information gets stolen all the time. And so I think that if it's a problem, we shouldn't only target TikTok. There are so many other apps that we've been using that are using information improperly. And so, like, I think I agree with Erica. Like, we need to figure out how we're going to safeguard our information, but also be able to let people use the platform to send their messaging out as they have been.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's interesting. It'll help technology. It'll help people with technology. It can also harm us with technology. Remember that age app where we all did it, and it turned out Russia knows what we all look like when we're 20 years older, and it's like, oh, great. Okay.
Excuse me, I didn't do it.
Good for you. Granger, way to go. I totally was like, let me do it. Lindsay, don't go away, you smart girl. Coming up on DBL, the fallout continues for the Ellen Show. Are its days numbered, and can she recover from this negative press? And as we go to commercial, another look at our almost empty studio, because pretty much everyone's working from home during the pandemic. We miss y'all. We'll be right back. about the future of her show. Andy Lassner, you might know Andy, he's on the show a lot. He said Ellen is not going off the air after someone on Twitter questioned whether the show would end. As we mentioned, the show has been steeped in controversy after top producers were allegedly accused of sexual misconduct, bullying, and harassment. Now some celebrities are weighing in. Brad Garrett, Leah Thompson recently expressed their true feelings for the talk show host. Brad tweeted, "Sorry, it comes from the top. No more than one who were treated horribly by her." With Leah responding, "True story, it is." There is some rumors that the Late Show with James Corden will come and replace Ellen DeGeneres. That was sort of a Twitter buzz feel during the weekend, which I don't hate the idea of that because he kind of has a daytime show with his like carpool karaoke anyway. I got flooded with people when I went out on a limb and said how I felt, speaking out to me in private about the whole behind the scenes. Now, some people, Lindsay, say this isn't just an Ellen problem, but this is an industry problem. Do you think that's true or no?
For sure. I think that that's not the only show where you see that the leaders or, the people at the helm besides the face of the show actually are not treating their staff properly. And so I think that Ellen has to be aware, as somebody with her name on the actual show, it's her job to make sure that she's not ignorant to what's going on beneath her. And so if she is unaware and saying, "Oh my God, I'm so surprised," that's hard to believe when, you put these people in power that are people that you associate and speak to almost on a daily, if not multiple times a day basis. And so, as much as she's brought joy to us, she's not the only host of a show or only show that said they had executive producers and things that were out of line. We've seen a lot of people quit recently because they've been saying similar things. So, we just have to just see what happens. I don't know. I think that she needs to definitely take this as a lesson and treat people better, especially because our whole persona on TV is this lovable, friendly person. And so to find out that that's not her is really disheartening to a lot of her fans, I'm sure.
Yeah, I got to address that really quick, Eric. A lot of people writing me and saying, could this possibly be true? Because the heartbreak of knowing that this one joyous show, the difference of being kind of like a hell on earth, they said, this is allegedly speaking from people who've worked there, is so hard to kind of put together and understand. Does that make sense?
No, I understand.
They were so heartbroken.
I do believe that Ellen's not even nearly the only one.
She's it, everyone. She's the only one.
Let me just tell you, my theory, and this is just my theory, is that the reason why Ellen went down first is because Ellen was seen as the happiest place on earth and everything was so perfect. And when you have that veneer and people who are working under that veneer aren't happy or aren't being treated with respect or equality or equity, then they start to have rumblings because there's a lot of hard feelings there. I think what happens is, just like with Me Too, you get someone who's seen as untouchable, they go down, and then everybody else starts to fall because they don't have as much protection, and people start speaking up for themselves. I think this is a really great time to start talking about the change in culture and climate in these corporations, because there's an idea that this is the way it's always been, so that it's the way it's always has been, it's the way it always will be. And people are saying, no, actually in this society, we want to be treated with respect and dignity, and we really don't care how it was 30 years ago, even though that might have been the way that you came up. We deal with our problems this way today.
Yeah, it's an antiquated system. Those interns and pages, in my opinion, don't deserve it. Patrice Gardner, sorry to go to her again, but she wrote a great thing in. I've worked in corporate America most of my career, and it's more of the norm than not.
Right.
So I appreciate you writing that in.
People feel safe to speak, and you should speak up.
Yes, now you can. Coming up on DBL, Erica catches up with Real Housewives of Potomac star Ashley Darby. She's gorgeous. She's spilling the tea on the hot new season. Don't go away.
When it comes to the Real Housewives of Potomac. And the youngest housewife of the bunch always has a lot to say. So earlier I sat down with Ashley Darby to get a sneak peek of the new season in today's Chatting with the Stars.
Now that I got my baby, that's the only crap I take.
Ashley Darby from the Real Housewives of Potomac. How are you, sis?
I am so great. How are you?
I am wonderful. Let me just tell you, I just watched How Did They Get Here on Bravo, and I looked at you and I said, she is my hair inspiration. I did the big chop and I just fell in love, and I just wanted you to know that you were one of my hair inspirations.
I feel so honored to hear that. Yes, and congratulations for taking the big chop. I know it's not easy to do, so kudos.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So I want to know, because we've definitely followed your journey of conception, the highs and the lows, and we were really rooting for you, but it resulted in your miracle rainbow baby, Dean Michael. So how has it been during the pandemic with a toddler?
It's really not the ideal situation that we're in a pandemic, but the silver lining has definitely been being able to see every moment and to watch all of Dean's milestones firsthand.
Well, we know that he celebrated his first birthday, so happy birthday, Dean Michael, from all of us at DBL. Now, I want to get into Real Housewives of Potomac. I just watched an interview with Candy Burris and Eva Marcel, and they were talking about the dynamics, especially during the Black Lives Matter movement, of the images that we're seeing of Black women on these reality TV shows. Do you think that there's duality of thought here, or how do you kind of wrap your head around it?
I must say that I actually feel closer to my castmates now during this movement, because all of them have been very vocal about Black Lives Matter, and it makes me really proud to know them.
There seems to be like a lot of drama between you, Candace, and Monique. Is that something that continues through season 5? What should we expect?
Yes, there are definitely a lot of growing pains. Monique and I actually, coming even off of last season, we mended our friendship, and you'll see how that continues to evolve. She was really helpful with my motherhood journey, and she just gave me such solid advice. So whatever happens between Candace and Monique, now that's another story. But as far as Monique and I, that's my girl.
Well, I do want to finish with this, because we have a new housewife that's being introduced to us in season 5. Her name's Wendy. What can you tell us about Wendy?
Wendy is a very big personality.
Bye, Wendy. Dr. Wendy, address me correctly, sweetie.
I mean, I guess that PhD comes in handy.
So it was a little bit of a bumpy ride, but I think we got there.
It's always the bumpy ride, and we're always here for it. So, Ashley Darby, I so appreciate you spending time with us on Daily Blast Live. And for you folks at home to learn more about Ashley, check her out on The Real Housewives of Potomac. Season 5 is live now on Bravo. We'll be right back.
Promotional consideration.
50 years of oppression, things need to change. The KKK is not only against different races, but also religion. The Jewish community has had the same oppression without being in the news. Absolutely. D. Shields says, I stand in solidarity with their choice to march, but also says Andy needs to revamp the Housewives theme song.
Oh,
thank you.
That's interesting.
We'll see you
We'll
same
let 'em
time,
know.
same place tomorrow. We'll let them know. Bye, guys.